Hi, Soulful Mama. If you are curious about adoption or becoming a foster parent, or you've already gone through the process but are wondering how to smooth the transition into this new family dynamic, and how you can balance your self-care while taking care of your family, you are going to want to listen to this beautiful conversation. In this episode of the Selfcare Mom podcast, I chat with Christina Suzann Nelson, author and mom of 6, including 5 adoptions, 4 of which were through foster care. She walks us through smoothing the transition into a new family dynamic, how she found balance between working and parenting, as well as how she let go of mommy guilt so she could enjoy life and help her family thrive. This is a real conversation about the joys and struggles of adoption and how you can find balance and self-care no matter what your family dynamic. Settle in and soak in this powerful conversation. Hi there, Soulful Mama. Welcome to the Selfcare Mom podcast. I'm Catherine Wild of SoulCareMom.com. I'm a mom of 3 amazing kids, a soul care mom coach, and a yoga and meditation teacher. I've helped hundreds of women, and I'm here to help you feel calm and find your unshakable confidence as a mom. If you're ready to stop living in survival mode and you're ready to drop the mom guilt and overwhelm, this podcast is for you. Think of this as a lunch date with a girlfriend. Grab a cup of tea and get cozy. It's time to get honest and vulnerable and shift the traditional mindset around motherhood. Be sure to subscribe to be the first to know when new episodes are released. Get ready to grow and feel empowered as a mom. I'm here for you, Mama. Let's get started. Hi, Christina. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
One of the many reasons I'm excited about talking with you is that you've experienced motherhood from different avenues and in different seasons of life, and you shared a little bit about your story with me. Would you share what your motherhood and adoption journey with us?
Absolutely. My husband and I, a couple years after we were married, we had our first son, Ryan, and we didn't get pregnant right away after that. And adoption had always been on the plan for us, adoption from foster care. So we were blessed to be able to adopt Joshua when he was a toddler, and he turned our world upside down. And then we actually had an independent adoption after that because the attorney remembered us from the first adoption and called us when a birth mother came in, and he felt that it was a really good match. So then we got our little Alicia. And then about a year or 2 after that, we were meeting with the foster parents that had had Joshua, and I picked up Emma and put her on my lap and knew that she was to be ours too. So we adopted Emma, and we had this big, full, fun family, and it was crazy and exciting, and we were still quite young. We just turned 30 when Emma came home. She was born before either of us had turned 30. So we thought we were going to have this very just rich empty nest life once the kids all took off on their own adult adventures. But about a year before that was to happen, we received a letter in the mail that the bio mom of one of our kiddos had 2 little girls that were in foster care, and would we be a resource for them? So we decided that yes, we would foster them, and we would hopefully have the opportunity to work with this bio mom and help her because she'd had some good times before, and we really wanted to encourage her to get back to that. But unfortunately, she passed away suddenly, not long after this all took place. So we brought the girls home and we finalized their adoptions last summer. So that year we had one of our big kids left in school. She was a senior. And we had a kindergartner and a second grader. So life felt very shaken, but wonderful in a different way. I mean, the girls are amazing blessings. I think they've taught us a lot about compassion and empathy and patience. So I wouldn't do it any other way. I absolutely adore them. And, for anyone ever considering adopting an older child, don't hesitate. It's wonderful. I always worried before that if we adopted an older child, how would it be to have missed those years? And it turns out it really isn't that important. What's important is today and what happens next. So we're thrilled. The kids are now 8 to 26.
Wow.
So it's quite a range.
That's amazing. What a journey. So I know that there's some moms that are listening right now that are currently going through or are interested in fostering in the adoption process. For those of us that aren't familiar, can you walk us through, in general, what that might look like?
So generally foster care, the first priority or the hope is for reunification with the biological parents. That is not something that always happens. In fact, I've seen quite often it seems that it doesn't. So a person can enter into, in some states, a foster adopt situation where the plan is for adoption for the child, and they have children come into their home that are most likely going to be placed, and then they are able to go ahead and adopt. In Oregon, we don't have foster adopt that way. So when you foster a child, you are there for that child as long as that child needs you. And that may mean that child's time with you has an end date, and it may mean that it doesn't. So, but either way, I've been so amazed to watch families, especially very young couples who have chose to foster prior to having biological children, or instead of having biological children, or in the mix of having biological children. And the stories of how grateful they are and how much they've enjoyed the opportunity and how enriched their lives have been by this experience. I think we still in this country have a tendency to look at foster care or children in care as somehow less than, and that's not true at all. These kids, they didn't do anything to get in this position. It's just circumstance, and circumstance can happen to any of us at any time. And each one of these little people have so much to offer, and so many amazing characteristics and talents and skills. And some of these kids are so incredibly resilient that it is just, we can learn so much from spending time with these kiddos that have been through so much, and they keep going. And they keep marching forward, and they just want to be loved on. And doesn't every child deserve to be loved on? Absolutely. Don't we all?
Yeah. Oh, the joy in your voice is just, it's beautiful. So you're talking about how, you don't always know the next thing that's going to happen, how long you're going to have a child, or I'm sure various circumstances, but no matter how you come into motherhood, there's so many unknowns. And so if there's a mom listening right now and she's interested in adoption or fostering, but she's feeling uncertain, anxious, overwhelmed with all of it, what would you say to her?
I would say talk to other foster moms. Because foster moms, they love to talk to you about foster care. I think that when when a life has been touched by foster care, it develops this passion in you for it. It's so we love to talk about this. In Oregon, we have a nonprofit called Every Child Oregon. So if you're in Oregon, you can contact Every Child and they'll give you all the information. And if you just want to help out a foster family or try doing some respite to see how that feels, that's an open opportunity also. I have a list of nonprofits in every state in our country that work with foster families and kiddos in care. So you could always contact me and I'll get you that list.
Awesome.
Yeah, watch the movie Instant Family. I can't recommend that enough. That is a really true movie.
Oh, awesome. Those are great tips.
My husband and I we don't often go out to movies, but we did on that one because it had been recommended to us, and we sat in the theater stunned at how they were. It felt a little bit like we were watching our lives on screen.
Oh, that's awesome. I will check it out. And so you mentioned too, these kids have, been through so much. I imagine they've been on quite this journey. And they may be recovering from, just, a typical family, like everyone goes through things that we need to process, but they may be recovering from some childhood trauma, by the time they get to you, right? So what are some ways that you approached helping your kiddos feel safe and loved and help them to, integrate into your family?
Well, there is a training called Tbri, which is trauma-based relational intervention, which I have personally found to be very helpful. It gives people a better understanding of what happens in the brain with trauma. A lot of times when a child's been through a great deal of trauma, that the amygdala in the brain is set off quite easily. So they go into that fight, flight, or freeze mode much quicker than you or I would. So I have seen that in my kids. So part of it is remaining calm when they don't feel calm, so that they can see that they see that modeled for them. It's about, sometimes I'll put my hands out to a child rather than actually reach out and touch them so that they can be the one that makes that move. Mm. It's a lot of it is really just patience. And when I look at my little girls over the last nearly 3 years and the changes that I've seen in them, it just makes it all worth it. It is amazing to see the confidence grow and the anxiety start to drop, because anxiety can be very, very overwhelming for a kid who's been through a lot of trauma. And also just being able to see them regulate their feelings and understand their feelings and be able to express those big feelings rather than just scream or get angry or, or cry or, just without being able to actually say, this is what is going on with me. But it is absolutely amazing to see that healing happen and see those kids just blossom. It's great.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh, that's really beautiful. And so how did you help the members that were already in your family transition as you added new members to your family, new kiddos?
Well, that was hard. That was actually, this last time it was very difficult. And part of that was the stage that our older kids were in. Our second son was actually there when I opened the letter, and he was, well, of course you'll take them. Why would you not?
Wow.
Yeah, let's get on board. He's been like the cheerleader for this the whole time. Both of our boys, we have our two first kids are our sons, and then we have 4 daughters. our boys were just cheerleaders the entire time because they were old enough and more established. And our first daughter was in Latvia when the girls came home. So when she flew home and she had two little sisters that she didn't have before. So I think it kind of shook her world a little at first, but she has just been amazing and just, she has developed such a strong relationship with them and they really look up to her. And then our fourth kiddo, we really had to help her through the transition more just because I think when you're the baby of the family, it's kind of hard to suddenly not be.
Yeah.
So that was difficult. And it was difficult for her and for us in that try to, at the same time you're trying to help her launch into the world. She's losing her baby status in so many ways. And I mean, it was trying, but you work through it day after day.
Yeah.
It all gets better.
Yeah.
And I would say my kids are all very close. They're great.
Oh, that's awesome. So when we become moms, there's so many emotions, right? There's joy and there's the anxiety and sometimes there's depression. What was your personal experience with each new member? Did you experience any post-adoption depression? Was there anything that you did to help yourself mentally and emotionally prepare as each new kiddo joined your family?
Well, with the first adoption, I was not prepared emotionally or physically. Joshua came home and I had just told myself it was going to be easy because I was bringing home a toddler and therefore our oldest son, and he could play immediately. And it was just going to be, I had these rose-colored glasses on that were not realistic because toddlers don't sit still.
So
my oldest kid is very focused and loved to look at books and figure out how things worked. And Joshua was like just this whirlwind that came into the house and we were just like staring at him like, what do we do? And he immediately attached to my husband and it took him a lot longer to attach to me. And that was really emotionally difficult. That was hard. Because I just wanted, I wanted to hold him and love on him. And he wanted his dad or no one and would cry when his dad left. And that was hard. But we're through that now. And I know that he loves me as much as he loves his dad. Just took him longer to get there. And we adore him. I was there for Alicia's cesarean. That was both amazing and heartbreaking at the same time. I developed a real love for her birth mother, and seeing her hurt is hard, but she felt very good about this decision and very strongly that this is what she wanted for our daughter. So my only experience with cesarean was a friend who'd had a very traumatic experience. And so I had a huge amount of guilt when they had to go ahead and do the birth that way. But it actually worked out really well, but she healed very quickly. And I think she bounced back faster than I did in some ways. But then, Emma, it just seemed like everything was very, very smooth with Emma. Maybe by the time we had our fourth, we were just kind of on a path. But with the girls, there were times where it was just amazing to have these two little people in the house again. It brought this life into the house that, we had it had been a long time since we'd had little kids. And then there were other days where it was hard because there's a freedom that leaves when you have young children. You can't just say, I'm heading out to the woods for a walk right now and leave, but yeah, so there was some difficulty there. And I think that there were some battles with depression off and on just because it wasn't expected. And this is a little harder to explain, but birth mothers you have such a connection. There's a connection between a birth mother and a mom that losing the girls bio mom was very painful. It just really shook me. And this woman had given birth to one of our other children and now 3 of our children. And then she was just gone. And I had such sadness that the day we found out that she passed away, I had sat down to write her a letter when I found out. And I didn't have the opportunity to say those things to her. And that was really sad. And then a week after she passed away, my dad passed away. So we had a lot going on all of a sudden. And then I had an emergency appendectomy. And then the girls came. It was a lot. But it's great. And they're great. And you just have to give yourself permission, I think, when life goes that crazy, that even sometimes the things that are so wonderful feel so heavy. So there were times where I just needed to step back and take a breath and take a walk by myself and touch base with some of my friends and just find myself again through everything that was going on. But
I love that you said that. Yeah. So let's talk about self-care. And this is a place where so many women struggle. There's guilt when it comes to taking this time away from your kids to take care of yourself. It sounds like you did find it important. I was going to ask you if you found that to be an important part of your motherhood journey. And did you struggle with the mommy guilt along the way?
Yes. So I did not do a good job with self-care with the older 4. My life was all completely wrapped around the kids, and I was also caring for my grandmother during her last years, and that was difficult, and I really wore myself out. So I had learned in those years from when the big kids were little to when the big kids were getting older that there were things that I needed so that I could give to them. So, I need time to walk in nature. I need that. I must have that time. And so I started really making that a priority. And that served me well when the little girls came home, because I had these things established. This, getting out and moving and spending time with, I have a wonderful group of friends that we go out every month, regardless of what's going on, and we can say anything to each other. And, we're going to be there no matter what, and encourage each other and just love each other. And you just have permission to be completely yourself. And it's a beautiful, wonderful thing that we met last night, and we call it our group therapy. It's just so refreshing. So I had some of that stuff set a little more when the little girls came. And then when COVID hit, it really threw everything off. So I work in my office all day here in the house. The girls had been going to school. My husband went to his office. My college girls were in college. And all of a sudden, within a couple weeks, everyone was at home all day. And it was supposed to be the short-term experience. And so I put myself on the back burner so that I could make sure everyone was cared for. And then it went on longer, and then it went on longer. And then when we got, as we've approached this 1 year, I've realized, oh my goodness, I have neglected so many things that I need so that I can stay balanced, so that I can be there for my kids, for my husband, for my friends, for everyone. I have allowed myself to get out of some of those routines because I was so counting, well, this is almost over.
Right.
And it's not. And so I'm implementing those things again, that time to just sit and read at the end of the day and get outside and
Oh, I love that.
So
what a journey. Yeah. Yeah. And COVID was a really good example of like a big thing life can throw our way, and we still have to make that space for ourselves, right? Yeah. And so let's talk about work and work-life balance. So you're a working mom. How do you find balance between work and family so that you can parent and work in harmony?
Well, I do have my office, and supposedly this is my space to come and work. My 8-year-old sneaks in here often. My husband actually put a lock on the door for Valentine's Day.
Oh,
very romantic. So that I can, at least find my own stopping place before my little one came in. But I have exposed my girls to my planner more this year. So I like to have things, in fact, there's my planner right there. I really like to have everything written out. I'm very, I use a paper planner because it just resonates with me to do it that way.
Right here too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so my girls now can look at my planner and see, okay, so mom is working from 1 to 3, and they can understand that. And mom has this time scheduled that she's going to be working with us. And I always spend time reading with them, sitting on the couch, all snuggled up, and we read. And then at dinner, we try to always be together so that they're getting that attention. I don't want them to ever feel like my job takes priority over them, but I also want them to respect that that's a part of who I am and that it has value also. So it's kind of the modeling, I think, that we talked a little bit about earlier, is that I want to model for them so that when they are mothers, that maybe they don't experience that level of mommy guilt.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's one of the best gifts we can give our kids, I think, is to show them how to lead, a well-balanced life and take care of ourselves and go after our passions so that they have permission to do it too,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing my kids starting to develop their passions, and I want to be part of that too. So my 10-year-old this year has become very interested in serving the homeless. And so she went around to everyone she saw or came in contact with and said, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to go to the homeless. I'm going to really just see what they need. And I want to provide these things. And people just donated to her. And she told her orthodontist, and she got all this toothpaste and toothbrushes. And then we went down, and she took dog food to people, and she, it was really, really neat to see her develop this desire and follow it through. So, I don't want to miss that either. That was so special to see.
Oh,
so she actually she has her own bin in the porch where she collects her supplies that she has to go out and share.
That's amazing. Oh, what a beautiful initiative she took. I love it. Okay, so
she's learned to be powerful. And I love it. I love this. I love watching the kids develop these passions and dreams and going for it. It's so rewarding.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's incredible. Okay, so I have a question about, so you talked about your group therapy and, that support and getting that support from other women. So if there's a mom that's listening right now that has a friend that's going through the adoption process or the foster parent process, or, is currently, has foster kids in their home, or how can she best, or how can we support our friends that are fostering and adopting? What can we do?
So I'm part of this nonprofit, Every Child, and one of the things that we're doing right now are these flash boxes, and they're just boxes that are filled with some special games or just different fun activities for a family to do together. They're usually try to be centered around the ages of the kids that are in the home, and just dropping something like that off, or a meal. Oh my goodness, a meal for a foster family is like gold. So, those kinds of, a coffee card for your friend, or, for a nice coffee shop that, has tea and coffee and just a nice soothing atmosphere. Foster moms love that. All moms love that. It's just in saying, hey, being excited. When we brought our first kiddo home, people didn't know what to do with us. There was no baby shower or anything because people, no one knew what to do with a family who was bringing home a child who wasn't an infant. And then when we brought our little girls home, our church, our friends, everyone just completely surrounded us. There was a huge welcome party when they came home. When their adoption finalized, the judge came out and did it outside so it could be COVID friendly. And there were so many people there. It was this field just full of people celebrating with our families. So times are changing, and people are understanding that families are made in different ways, and that doesn't make any family less valuable. So that's just, I think, a really encouraging thing I've seen over the last few years. So if you can just be excited when a kid comes into a family, share that excitement. Whether it's through foster care and the child is there for a short time, or adoption or foster to adopt, share that excitement with that family.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing those. And my last question for you is, you've been through this whole journey, and if you could go back in time with all the experience and wisdom that you have, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I would say be kinder to yourself. Trust that it's going to work out. And don't think that you are the only one who can fix anything. I took way too much on myself, put too much pressure on myself to make everything perfect, to make every correct parenting decision. And honestly, I messed up a lot. And my kids turned out great. They're wonderful adults that I'm so proud of. I wish I'd have been kinder and more patient with myself.
Oh, I think that's words that every mom needs to hear, right? We're human and we mess up, we make mistakes, and that's part of our journey. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Kindness and compassion and grace.
Yes. Can you imagine being a child who was raised by a perfect mother? It would be very hard to move forward in your own life. So think of your own failures as a service to your children.
I love that. Great perspective. You are amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your wisdom and all your tips with us. Can you let us know where we can find you online?
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Christina Suzann, and that's actually Suzann. There is no E on the end. I'm also on Facebook. I have an author page there, and you can find me on my website, www.christinasuzannelson.com, and contact me through the contact page there.
Oh, awesome. I will share all those in the show notes too. That was perfect. Is there anything else that you'd like to share or add?
No, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. This was so wonderful. Thanks for joining me, Mama. I'm over here smiling from ear to ear and giving you a big virtual hug. I love spending this time with you. You are amazing for showing up and carving out this space to nourish your soul. If you are loving the Soul Care Mom podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. And if you are ready to start your mornings feeling calm and energized, get the Kickstart Your Calm Morning Guide, a self-care morning ritual for moms, as a free gift when you join the Soul Care Mom community. Head over to soulcaremom.com/kickstart and enter your email address to get your free gift and start feeling like a calm mom today. Sending you so much love, Mama.